Hello everybody, I am Luciana, and in this video we're talking about anxiety. And I just want to say that anxiety sucks. Yes, anxiety is one of the most common experiences that a lot of people have, and many people actually live it in silence because either they don't know what they're experiencing or they just don't want to share it with anybody. So in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about it. And if you experience anxiety, I first want to tell you that there is nothing wrong with you. Experiencing anxiety does not mean that something bad will happen to you, or that your life should be horrible, or that there is something wrong, or anything like that. I want you to know that most likely at any given time, when you're standing next to a room full of people, at least half of them either are experiencing anxiety or have experienced anxiety at some point in their life. So we want to remove the stigma around the topic. We want to learn to understand it, and we want to learn how it can help us actually grow instead of destroying us. So it is important to say that everything that I will be sharing here is a holistic approach of managing your anxiety and also my personal experience. But it should never substitute going to see a professional to try to get help, to try to get guidance. That is always very important. So don't underestimate it. And I always tell people, you can go see a doctor, you can go see a counselor, even a psychiatrist, and apply a lot of the holistic approach, because the holistic practices are the things that you do at home outside of the doctor's office. And if for many of you, trying the traditional ways of treating anxiety has not worked for you, then maybe a lot of the holistic practices can be very, very beneficial. So in order to try to understand what anxiety is, what I explain to my clients and to my students is that when we experience anxiety, it's like there's a sudden alarm that's going off inside of us, kind of like a fire alarm when you're at a store or at a school. It's like that. Something within us is saying, beep, 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 pay attention. But the question is, pay attention to what? What is it that's actually going on? There is not one source that is the only one trigger of anxiety. And that is why it's so difficult to explain to people, because we don't all experience it the same or for the same reason. Many of us may have very similar symptoms, and that's normal and that's common, but it doesn't mean that the same thing triggered the anxiety within us. So I always say the first step to begin to create a more peaceful relationship with your anxiety is to begin to understand your symptoms and understand what are your triggers. Now, if you wanted to train a little puppy, you wouldn't train the puppy by always leaving it outside and never paying attention to it. In order to train a little puppy, you would have to be with it, observe what it does, what times does it want to eat or use the restroom or nap. Just simply paying attention to something gives you back information. So if you experience anxiety, it's important to begin to pay attention to your symptoms. Are your symptoms more physical? Like you have maybe a little bit of tightness in your chest, sweaty palms, heart palpitations, just a little bit of nervousness? Or are your symptoms more emotional? You feel very worried. You feel a lot of fear. Or are your symptoms more mental? You begin to have very scary thoughts that something really bad is going to happen, or just a constant mental worry without necessarily knowing why. Can you see, by just acknowledging that, there are even 3 different ways in how we may be living anxiety? So I want to challenge you, if you do experience anxiety, to take a moment throughout your day and simply take a deep breath when you feel the anxiety and pay attention what's going on. Like if you were looking for that puppy to train in and to learn to acknowledge it, to teach the puppy, the same with you. So what is it that I'm feeling? Okay, I have a lot of physical symptoms. It could be anything. I feel a little bit of heart palpitations, or I feel my hands are very sweaty. And actually write it down, like on your phone, wherever, because if you think you're gonna remember it later, because I'm that kind of person, I always think, I will remember this, and I never do. Write it down. I don't care where, like a little piece of paper, but what are your physical symptoms? And this is important, guys. It's so important to acknowledge that you wanna do this so you get better. Like it should be something on your priority list if you do experience anxiety and wanna learn to manage it. Then pay attention. Okay, what is it that I'm feeling? Maybe you're at work, nothing apparently to you is going on, but you begin to feel anxious. And what you may notice is that your anxiety begins to arise when it's getting closer to the time where you need to deal with clients, or when you know that you're going to have a meeting with your boss, or maybe when your significant other acted a little different in the morning because they weren't feeling so well, and you felt like, okay, why are they acting different? And you said nothing, but you start feeling a sense of worry. Maybe you don't notice those little things, but this is the opportunity to pay attention to them. What are you feeling emotionally? And I will be making more videos about emotional integration, because that is a huge, huge, huge thing that pretty much transformed my life when it came to learning to manage my anxiety. And emotional integration, it's simply a way and almost like a practice of awareness and meditation to learn to process our emotions more consciously. But it starts with what I'm sharing with you today, paying attention to what you feel and write it down. And in there, you may actually recognize some of your triggers. And then also begin to notice, what is my mind telling me right now? And you start writing those thoughts. Where is it going to? Is it always a worry about your health? Is it always a worry about work or money or your relationships? If you don't know what it is, you will continue to be like in this cycle of anxiety, feeling that you don't know why. So that is my first challenge to you. Write down, what are my physical symptoms, my emotional symptoms, and my mental symptoms. And in that, you may actually discover your triggers. You may notice you have a cup of coffee, and 30 minutes later, you begin to feel anxious. You eat chocolate, and 30 minutes later, you begin to feel anxious. You want to sleep very, very late, and then in the morning, you feel anxious. You need to begin to pay attention. What are your triggers emotionally when you have an argument, when there's issues with your finances, and mentally when you have maybe a lot to do, dealing with a specific person. Write it all down. So that's the first thing, because that is almost like getting a blueprint of how you're experiencing your life. Now, when we kind of have an idea, I know what my symptoms are, I know what my triggers are, how can I begin to make it better? I always like to say, and the second thing is, be open to having a holistic approach to managing your anxiety. Holistic approach is pretty much what I just mentioned. Having things that you can do for your body, things and tools and practices that you can deal to work through your emotions, and things that you can use to work with your mind and with your thoughts. I have people that tell me, but you know what? I've been doing a lot of mindset work and I'm very positive. I don't know why I'm still having anxiety. And in that case, it may be because even if we're mentally very positive, maybe we have not yet addressed certain emotions, and we may still have a lot of physical habits that trigger the anxiety within us. Then I have people that tell me, but you know what? I stopped drinking coffee. I stopped eating certain foods. I'm sleeping more. Why am I still experiencing anxiety? And it's usually because they have not addressed certain emotions and certain thought patterns. The mind may still be very negative, and we're carrying within a lot of emotions that are not resolved, and those may be the trigger of the anxiety. So what I have found, I've worked with hundreds of clients, and what I have found is that usually for those people that have the best success, they have found things in their life that they apply in their daily life that they do for their body, for their emotions, and for their mind. And when they do that, they notice that they go from having months of anxiety, days and weeks of anxiety, to, like I mentioned, having moments of anxiety. And we also want to be realistic with this. Anxiety is that part of us within us that's trying to tell us, pay attention to something. To me, that doesn't sound like an enemy. It sounds like a friend. And I always tell people, I feel that my anxiety was my first teacher when it comes to learning to care for me. Because a lot of the times when we're feeling great, we don't look for personal development or meditation. It's usually when people have reached a place where they don't know what to do anymore that they begin to look into these practices. So even if that's the case, then I'm so grateful that I've experienced anxiety for my whole life. And because of it, I am now where I am today. So that is going to be so important for you to find things that you can do in every aspect of your of yourself, to care for you. And like I said, to be realistic, that anxiety may still come at some moments, but we don't want to see it like that horrible, scary thing that's coming along, but more like, okay, I'm feeling anxious today. What's going on? Maybe I haven't been aware of how I'm feeling, or my mind has become very stressed and very negative, or my habits kind of, are all over the place. And it's a reminder to come back and be in a place of being more centered, more connected with ourselves, and just more at peace. So yes, I plan on making videos on specific things that we can do for each area of ourselves, for our mind, for our emotions, and for our body. But just for today, this is what I wanted to share with you. And more than anything, I want to tell you to don't lose hope. If you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with anything like this in your life, it's so important to not see it as something that's always going to be there or something permanent, and choose to grow from it. And find people that you can surround yourself, that can inspire you, that can kind of create that shift within you to surround yourself with, because that is also a huge, huge thing. When we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling afraid, when we're feeling depressed, and we go and surround ourselves with people, or I will even say, if we go on social media and everything on social media is negative or sad or depressing, it will bring us down. So yes, surround yourself with people that understand you, that can support you. Even the people that you watch on YouTube, the people that you follow on social media, find some people that are motivating to you and that you connect with, and follow them. So sometimes when you're overwhelmed scrolling through everything that's going on Facebook, at least once in a while you will have something positive and uplifting, and that can create that shift within you. So before I go today, my biggest challenge for you, just to get started with this, is to create that list of what are my symptoms and what are my triggers, and begin to think of different things that are realistic to your life, that you can do for your body, that you can do for your emotions, and that you can do for your mind. And I do want to say that a while back, a couple of months back, I created a little course called I Am Mindfulness, where I talk about how we can use mindfulness to work through our anxiety. And I have decided to make that available, part of that course available for free. It's completely free. There's no secrets or no attachments to it. So I'm going to put the link below this video in the description or in the comments. And I would love for you, if you think it's something that could help you, to check it out. I added there an emergency relaxation session. So this is a session for when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like, I don't know what to do right now, that can help you feel more grounded and present and centered right away. And you can download it and put it on your phone, and you can take it with you everywhere. But I would love to hear about your experience with anxiety. You know, send me a message through social media. I would love, love, love to connect. And I just hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.